Well, the trial of a socialite accused of hiring a hitman to kill her ex-husband resumes moments from now. Witnesses for the prosecution testifying that Pamela Phillips was desperate for cash to fund her very lavish lifestyle. Phillips's former husband, Gary Triano, was killed in a Tucson car bombing back in 1996. Her lawyers say one of Triano's business rivals probably killed him, but that's not what the prosecution says. Our legal panel is here to weigh in. Brian Silber, former prosecutor, and John Manuelian, a criminal defense attorney. Nice to have you both.
When I analyze the facts of this case, at least what's reported in the media, it sounds like the prosecution's going to have a problem because there's nothing to tie the gap between something that arouses a lot of suspicion and probably gives her a great motive to do something and then actually proves that she did it. You know, this is not a case with DNA. It's not a case with fingerprints. It's not a case with a confession. There's no independent eyewitness. It's all about these circumstances that suggest she might have a motive to kill. But I'm just not seeing that next thing that has to follow.
John, one of the things that we should talk about, though, is the man that was convicted of killing Gary Triano, the ex-boyfriend of the woman that's on the screen now. Is that enough to make a connection in this case?
It could be. It all depends on how the jurors feel about Pamela Phillips. I think the prosecution is going to try to make the jurors hate Pamela Phillips and use that anger into convicting her. And Brian is right. There's really not enough evidence at this point in time. Allegations and suspicions are not enough to convict Pamela. But if they use all the circumstantial evidence regarding the way the detonation went off, the relationship between her and Ronald Young, the fact that she was broke and she wanted to live that lavish lifestyle, it may be enough. But as a defense attorney, I would point out the fact that this is a very old case. The prosecutors and the investigators are trying to close this cold case, and they're jumping to conclusions based on the fact that she was paying a life insurance premium. And that alone doesn't mean that she had an intent to kill. If she wanted to kill her husband, she would have done it way, way before. And remember, Jenna, they do share 2 children. So the defense attorney's got to argue, why would she kill the husband of her children or the father of her children?
Interesting. You know, as John points out, Brian, it has been nearly 20 years since the death of this man. I'm just curious because both of you say, listen, this is going to be an uphill battle for the prosecution. Why do you think they've chosen this then, Brian? I mean, not that you don't choose hard cases, but what has finally brought this to trial, the apex of a trial?
Well, I think there's 2 factors. Number one, I read somewhere that the trial was delayed because of her mental health condition. I don't know what the details are. I don't know if she went through a period of a lack of mental competency that you have to have for trial. But it sounds like there was some kind of issue with that. The other thing is, and this is very common in criminal law enforcement decides who's guilty of a crime, they sink their teeth in, and they won't let go. And you know what? It's great business for people like me and like my fellow guest here today because we're able to tear these cases apart. You know, sometimes the worst thing is it results in an injustice. There's a miscarriage of justice because convictions have to be founded on evidence and the law. And just situations like this, it's just not there. You need more than enough to prove an allegation. You know, you have to go all the way to get that conviction. Rendering her a suspect is not enough.
To get to beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have to remember that, John, don't we? Because that actually gets us to the point where there would be a conviction. John, if we could, here's a couple other things that happened yesterday. The prosecution brought a former friend or current friend of Pamela Phillips onto the stand, and he admitted that he had given her tens of thousands of dollars as a loan. We also heard from a car rental shop owner who said that he rented a car to Pamela's former boyfriend. Again, he's the convicted bomber, Ron Young. You can see where they're going. Do you what's going to connect the dots, or what do you think would be the most difficult challenge for the defense to overcome when this finally gets to them?
I think the challenge is going to be dispelling the prosecution's theory that she needed the money for her lavish lifestyle. But I think, Jenna, they could dispel that theory by pointing out that she was working as a real estate agent for the Heinz Corporation and she had a lucrative career going on. And I think the other problem is going to be the bombing of the car itself. But again, they could dispel that theory and say that he had a lot of debts, that Gary Triano had a lot of debts, including to organized mob figures, and anybody could have killed him, not just Pamela Phillips.
It'll be an interesting case to watch. Brian, John, great to have you both today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.